Alright, so this is a bit of an informal video. As I think I mentioned before, I run a bit of like a text RP adventure in our home Discord for in-between session RP stuff, and most of it is not normally a huge deal. However, over the last week or so, I was just incredibly bored, and so I decided to give the party a few scares on their way back from the dungeon, which hopefully we will resolve tomorrow, come tomorrow's session. As a result, this video is just consisting of me reading out our RP chat and hopefully getting you guys caught up on what we've been doing in between sessions. So, as I said last video, we ended last session with the party finding themselves in an underground complex in front of an old shrine to Lamashtu, filled with gurgling, bubbling old water. Directly in front of them was the skeleton and the chest they looted. To the right, there were two strong doors, locked with heavy iron locks. The entire complex was very old, much older than the city of Sandpoint even, and yet the blood on the wall made it feel lived in. Caius spoke first. I say we regroup at the inn and try to decide on a plan of action. A lot just happened, and it seems to me we may literally be in way above our heads. I won't be much use at this spear, so going back we'll need to be careful not to make any unfortunate mistakes. He looks at Tarek and goes and he decides to head over to the closest entry point to scout out the path they came from, though no further than shouting distance. Tarek, holding the chainmail shirt and looking down at his body, sheathed his blade with a mortified look, slipping the armor into his own bag before swallowing a lump in his throat and following Caius quietly to leave. Vasriel, should we bury her somewhere? Give her a small funeral? Tarek, I don't know. We could, but do it at the beach outside. Easier to bury if we do. I can carry the body if we need to do this. Caius returns. It seems like the area is clear. We shouldn't have any problems, but I think we should get out of here soon. Tarek nods, looking back to the body, and sighs. He pulls his cloak over and goes over, wrapping Neff's corpse in the blue fabric, staining it now red, lifting it in his arms. All right, we're ready. Let's go. Tarek, Caius, Vasriel, and Rygar began to make their way back out of the complex. And due to most of the party having dark vision, navigating didn't appear to be too much of an issue at first. Yet, as the party made their way back west, and the cursed altar disappeared into the distance behind them, the old stone walls on both sides of them, inlaid with strange demonic iconography, stretched out, leading beyond the length of your dark vision as they traversed this long corridor. Neff's twisted and tortured body, being carried in their arms, seemed to weigh them down as they crawled forward in pure black darkness. A blackness that was not consumed or not contained, nor scared away by the light or fire. Nay, a blackness that enveloped them, even as their eyes picked out features. The walls and the ceiling of this corridor, each of them painted an unfathomably dark black, and the few features they saw, demonic symbols, blood stains, strange seven-pointed stars, each of them appeared as a crescent chalky white, not so much piercing the darkness as revealing it. Caius, of course, was more used to this setting. However, even he felt restrained of sorts as he walked forward, surrounded by a cleric, a warrior, and a gunslinger. Darkest dungeon joke. For dear Vasriel, however, the experience was quite different. Squished between two other people and without light, and without the ability to see, it was maddening. He shuffled forward, without vision, but perhaps with hearing? Party roll a perception check. Party fucked up their perception check. Tarek got a 16, though. And so the shadows were flickering, and the party could only see shapes and shadows, movement at the edge of their vision, though nothing human-sized or shaped, as the tunnel in front of them just seemed to go on forever, as if the darkness itself was extending the length of their walk, as if the tunnel itself continued to go on forever. What do you guys do? Tarek adjusted himself, cradling Neff's wrapped body in a single arm, making a motion with his hands in front of him. Great Dawnflower, bless those who seek to see your light. He then casts a bless spell, which goes whoop and gives everyone +1 to hit and +1 against fear. Immediately after, he narrowed his eyes and he pointed a finger straight ahead towards the shadows. Burn away the darkness that seems to trap us. And he fires one of his fireballs from his domain ability. Vasriel. What? Is anything going on? I can't see anything. Caius, noticing the movement ahead, he immediately paused to warn Vasriel to stay behind them. Taking up the rear as Tarek begins chanting and readying for an encounter, and the light from the fireball stings his eyes. Damn it, not again! Neither can I! Vasriel. Well, you could see before the fireball. Caius. But there was movement up ahead. Be careful, as he rubbed his eyes. Tarek cast his blessing that enveloped the party. A flicking blessing that emboldened your hope. Or perhaps your inevitable fight towards doom. With a blast from his firebolt, it lit up the night, though more to the extent that a rocket engine lights up the night sky. Not so much the light of the firebolt itself, more the lack thereof of anything to compare it to. It was exceedingly bright, most notable to goggleless Caius. Yet, for a brief moment, the firebolt did do its job, dispelling the darkness around them, and revealing a short 30-foot hop to what looked like a T-junction? Or perhaps a four-way junction? It was really hard to tell. Yet, less than a few moments later, the spell impacted the far side of the corridor, hissing to nothingness like ice cubes in a pot of boiling water, as the shadows reasserted their dominion, coming in, enveloping them, strangling them. And yet, the hallway itself seemed to elongate again. The 30-foot walk to the edge of the hallway seemed to extend. Perhaps it didn't. Perhaps it did. Or perhaps the end of the hallway itself was but an illusion. And as the shadows returned, Neff's body became heavier, and it seemed to breathe in the shadows. Or perhaps it was what was emitting them. What does party do? Vasriel, can you hold the firebolt for light? I feel that may do something to help us. Tarek, I should be able to, for at least for a short time, but Caius, you should get your glasses on first. And giving the monk a moment to prepare, he looked at Neff's body and decided to cast Detect Magic. Neff's course does in fact detect magical. He attempts to roll a spellcraft check to narrow down the school. He fails. Caius decides to cast his fairy fire spell on Vass so he could see the immediate area. That's the best I can do without blinding myself again, as he puts on his goggles. Tarek, stay close. Are we going in the right direction? Tarek, give me a second. I'm getting something. We should be able to get out. I just need a few more moments to focus. Anything I can do to help, says Caius. Vass kept an eye on the rear. I'll hold the front. We gotta make sure nothing distracts him. Vasriel, assuming you willingly fail the saving throw against fairy fire, the air around him suddenly lit up in an illusionary blue fire, causing him to take a huge penalty on stealth checks the next 2 minutes, but very slightly illuminating the area in a 5-foot dim cube around him. The light was bright enough that he was able to see his own body, and slightly the area around him, but little else. Still, it made the shadows retreat. Not all at once, but slowly, like some sort of slime, or perhaps a spiderweb of shadows. Caius turned around and put on the goggles in the pure darkness and basically blinded himself again. And he says he was hoping that a light spell would come into effect. Now, if only the party had actually prepared a light spell. But yes, so for Tarek's spellcraft check, he only rolled a 15, and so he was able to discover that Neff's body did definitely radiate magic, and sadly, while the Church of Sarenrae's texts do certainly cover old ruins, mutated bodies, demons, weird shadow magic, they don't quite go into as much detail when all of the above gets combined into a giant clusterfuck. Neff's body was magical, and it was doing something. He just has no idea to the specifics. As a result, Tarek sighs in frustration. Damn, lost it. It looks like Neff is causing this, or at least her body is. I'm just not sure how. Tarek flicks his wrists and snaps his fingers, muttering a small prayer as a firebolt ignited, smaller than normal, just above his hand. Sorry for making you two wait. Caius. I'm sure it could be worth. Did you sense anything other than Neff? Tarek shook his head. I saw something on her and put my focus there. Didn't feel anything nagging my mind for any other direction, though I think it's just her. Vasriel. Now, I don't know anything about magic, but I have a hunch. What if Neff's body is possessed and causing endless darkness? While we're in this dark, we can't move closer to the exit. We might be able to move if we have lights leading to the exit. Aha! Or we drop Neff. Again, just a hunch with near nothing to go off of. Well, that's a great hunch, Vastriel. Tarek, that's a good possibility. We can try and leave. We can try and leave with some lights up to start. We can at least bury her if we bring her to the beach. But if we can't go, we'll have to leave her here. How about we leave Neff here and try to continue, says Vastriel. If we make it to the door, we can come back for Neff again and try to get to the door. And then Caius goes, or we can cut our losses, leave the body, and just get the hell out of here. I understand the sentiment, but come on, guys. Really? Let's be practical. Unless you plan on bringing her back to life, this is a wasted effort. We can say our goodbyes, and I'm sure you can give decent funeral rites given your disposition, Tarek. Vastriel looked at Neff for a second, then looked at Caius. You might be right. If it risks our lives, then it might be a good idea to leave her. But what will Balder say if we leave Neff here? Caius, I know we all just met and I've been a little more than abrasive, but I assure you my intentions are purely honest. We can always come back for her, but right now I think the priority is make sure neither of us die as well. Rygar isn't with us because he isn't participating in the RP, and what happened to Neff is beyond me. Vasriel, I do agree with you, just thinking of Balder and what she thinks. Caius, that's what expectations are for. Neff is gone either way, and we have the contact spell if need be. Tarek looked down towards the cradled body, chewing his lip a bit in thought and stress, to the point a bit of blood was drawn. As much as I hate saying it, but you two might be right. If just being with her body caused this, we might get attacked while caught in this space, and unable to escape such a threat. Damn it! I don't think there's any soft ground to even make a small grave in here for her. He sighs in frustration. The only thing I can think is to get her body outside for proper burial and funeral is drag along a distance behind us using rope. But it may be for the best to leave her in here for the time being. The magic may wear off by the time we return with Balder and Rygar. Caius, this is how I see it. We leave Neff. If the issue persists, then we know it's not coming back for her. Otherwise, we make our way out of this hole and properly prepare ourselves. We can talk to the others and draw up a game plan if they think we're coming back right away is a good idea. I'm also carrying this long-ass spear I have no idea how to use, but it's shiny and I wanted it. Tarek gets a half smile at this, then the flickering light of his firebolt. You two seem to be pretty handy people. He sighs, setting the body down and carefully unwrapping his now blood-stained cloak from around it. Laying that aside, the cleric reached behind him into his bag, and with a whispered word, used his minor magic spell to draw forth a white sheet, a funerary cloth, and 3 roses. 1 black one, 1 white one, and 1 violet one. Biting on the stems of the roses, he drapes the cloth over the body with his free hand, and one at a time lays the roses on top of it before picking up the stained cloth. It's not much, but it should be a start, I think. We can do more once we return, whether tomorrow or in a few days, but I simply hope that she can find her peace. Tarek looked down at the covered body once more before tucking in his cloak under his arm and holding the firebolt afloat, ready to lead the way out. Caius, looking at the other two solemnly, then down at the makeshift grave. Our adventure together was cut short, my new friend, and I'm beginning to think my life is destined to be one of loss. You are an interesting soul, to say the least, and I want nothing but peace for you in whatever realm is now your home. My only wish for you is to have all the grog your heart desires. And he laughs one more time. As a result, as the party left Neff's body alone on the hard stone floor in the shadows, and as they walked away, perhaps to their relief, the shadows did not follow them. Or, well, they did in the sense that the entire complex was still underground. However, without Neff, the trek back to the surface seemed quicker. Yet, as they left her body alone to be consumed by its own shadows, an aura of unnerving energy seemed to make its way out to their minds. For as soon as they all turned the corner and the body left their line of sight, you heard sounds. The party heard the sounds of what sounded like animals swooping, or perhaps teleportation magic, followed by gray noise, followed by a voice that sounded remarkably similar to Neff saying, And done! Followed by only what could be sound as the hum of a vacuum, before a quick pop as silence came over the ancient caverns once more, and the party found themselves back outside the smugglers' tunnels that they appeared to have broken into this strange complex in the first place, with the beach to their north, a cliff that could climb up to the cathedral on their east side, and of course in front of them, the old tunnels leading back to under the glassworks. Tarek set his bag on the ground, letting the firebolt go out, and pulled out Baldur's grappling hook with his rope, getting to work remaking the line. Going to the glassworks will be another hour or two. This way, we can get back a good deal faster. Tarek removes his shield and casts a spell on himself to make him better, and rolls a 5. With a 5, Tarek figures that he could make this, theoretically, as long as he had a rope and a climber's kit, and maybe some hammer and pythons, and maybe carve some footholds in there as well, and maybe it would have boosted the rest of the party, and maybe putting some knots in the rope couldn't hurt either, and, well, he realized this might be a bit more difficult than he anticipated. Kaya says, I agree, climbing would be the fastest route, but did you really think you could pull that off? He grabs the hook and rope from Derek. Shall I? He began examining the hill to identify a good anchor. Tarek said, well, you are the natural. Go ahead. He rolled it. He got amazing. So Caius grabs the rope, and like an expert climber, he made his way to the top in less than a minute. Caius shouts down, hey guys, just take time on the way up. I'll help if you need it. Tarek gulps and puts a hand on his chest. He takes a few calming breaths before calling back, a little help might be needed. He grabs the rope, started to climb, and he rolls a natural 20. So as a result, Caius just hears a Yahoo sound, and Tarek is at the top of the bridge. Tarek goes, I have no idea how I did that. Caius asks, how did you do that? Tarek shrugs with a look of confusion before going down to the edge and looking down, and says, need some help getting up, Vass? Vasriel approaches the rope and replies to Tarek, no, I should be fine, and he's able to climb up no issues. The party is now on top of the ridge and back in Sandpoint. The half-orc nods, grabbing the hook and wrapping the rope up. We can set it back down once we've decided to return to the tunnels. For now, though, best we keep this area inaccessible for those who may fall to any beast like what we encountered. Kaya says, we should head back to the inn in the meantime. I think we should rest up and pass this information on to the others. Vasriel speaks, I agree, not much left to do, but wait. Tarek is quiet for a moment, but nods. They should know, yeah. We need the night and possibly tomorrow to recover and mourn before we plan our next course of action and prepare ahead of time. And right now, it's 10 o'clock at night, and Sandpoint is currently quiet. Most shops are currently closed. The moon is high in the sky. A few traders were walking through the streets, but given the lack of police presence, the town appeared abandoned. To your left is the ridge, along a number of houses, as well as the north gate, where all of this started. Directly ahead of them was the main square, the cathedral, and further forward, their friendly tavern, the Rusty Dragon. To your right was the ridge they had just climbed up, and the beach, along with a few more houses, as well as a large ruin that dominated the northwest of Sandpoint, known as the Old Light. Tarek, so to the Rusty Dragon. Tarek asks this as he places the coiled rope and grappling hook back into his bag. Caius, we should take the long way back to do a little scouting. We're in charge, after all. Tarek, perhaps. It has already been quite some time, so we shouldn't be out too much longer. We could maybe afford an hour or two before we need to get some rest. Caius, should take us just as long to do a patrol around the perimeter. Tarek nods, looking to Vasriel. Think you can handle a quick loop, or do you want to get back and get to resting? Vasriel, we should try and do as much looking around as possible, given where most of what's left is all. Caius decides to take the lead and make his way back towards the glassworks, doing some minimal scouting of the local area, ensuring the night is as quiet as it sounds. Tarek decided to join him. Both of them roll pretty good on perception, but Caius nat ones his perception check. And so, as a result, with Tarek's armor clanking behind him, Caius just kind of says fuck it, and decides against sneaking, and heads off towards the glassworks with the half-orc not far behind. The two of them began to patrol the dark side of Sandpoint, which, sadly, was rather barren of dinosaurs or lasers, inside joke. Sandpoint was a fairly quiet town, after all. And while crime certainly did happen, most of the outrage from the current crisis was due to the fact that this sort of crazy violence and magic just didn't happen in a town like Sandpoint. One moment, everyone was preparing for the neighborhood festival. The next, goblins had lit fires through the streets. Sandpoint was supposed to be a quiet, peaceful town. And yet, over the last few weeks, that reputation had just been completely turned on its head. The question of the hour was why? Certainly all of this was connected, but how? No thought could be more apparent when, upon turning a corner, both Caius and Tarek spotted a corpse. And with over an 18 perception for both of them, they could both notice this was no ordinary corpse. Sitting and laying in the dry, cool, and dark rivet alleyways on a stone house right at the corner of Main Street and Junker's Edge was a corpse, not 100 feet from where they started their patrol. The body was old, male, and rotten. Perhaps one of the victims from the goblin attack? Possibly, though they looked quite a bit older than that. His rags were tattered. He held a rotting book emblazoned with a skull, along with a number of other possessions, and his flesh appeared skeletonized. Though with Tarek's knowledge of medicine, it didn't look like decay, or at least the decay he was familiar with. Vasriel. Any idea of where he came from? Tarek. I don't know. Give me just a moment. I'll investigate. Tarek split off a little to get a bit closer and check it out. He between the state of the body and the possessions on the corpse. The body itself was cold, quite cold. Looking the body over, he spotted a coin purse, along with a wand, 4 blue potions, and 2 scrolls. Kaya said, I'll keep an eye out while you investigate. You too. Tarek goes, now what are these? At which point Tarek got a bit of a telepathic message, froze up, and he began glancing around before he stood up, drawing his blade and spinning around. Who's there? Show yourself! Caius, what is it? As he turned to look towards Tarek. Tarek, someone placed a threat at me. Threatened to make me look like this fellow. I don't know where they are, though. And so as Tarek spoke, a humanoid female with purple skin-tight clothing, and infernal horns dropped her invisibility spell and appeared, pointing both spell and dagger at Tarek. I swear, if it's not humans, it's fucking paladins up in my grill. Step away from your friend, or I'm gonna rip your bones out as well. Tarek raised his right hand. Not a paladin. Stay your blade. We were just on patrol and saw a body, ma'am. Caius goes, what is up with this town? As he throws his hands up in the air in frustration. Tarek, the half-orc, looked over and shrugged before looking back to the woman. Now, please, let us sheath our weapons and we can talk about this peacefully. The woman lowered her weapon, but more in frustration. Well, that means you're guards, then. Damn it! And right after Wuhan here said there was no fucking guards in this town. Great, just great. That means I need to kill 1, 2... How many of you guys are there? Damn, I am not used to doing this type of murder this early in the night. She sighed once again. Can you guys, stand next to one another so I can, decapitate everyone at once? I really don't have time to fight you fuckers. Tarek lowered his blade, not sheathing it, though, as he eyed the woman. Ma'am, let's talk about this peacefully. No death or bloodshed is necessary. Caius whispered to Tarek. I really don't think she's going to listen, as he assumed a defensive posture. The woman rolled her eyes. Well, you can call me Roxy. Wuhan here, she gestured towards the corpse, opened the door for me, and we made a deal, as consenting adults, power in exchange for donations. Except he wasn't as skilled of a mage as he thought he was, and he ended up making a very large donation. Fully willing, I might add, before you charge me of murder. Or is simply stepping foot in the mortal realm a death penalty offense for you mortals nowadays? Vasriel, we will hear you out, just don't kill anyone else tonight. Tarek had a confused look as he listened to her, cocking his head. Anyway, dear old Wuhan thought he had me controlled, leashed down, bound to his will. Oh, you should have seen the look on his face. After a moment of confusion, Tarek got a light of realization in his eyes and gawks. You're a succubus, aren't you? Oh, succubus is such a crude word. I prefer demon of the night. As well, I really wasn't. I wasn't really planning to stick around longer than that. But since my summoner fucked up his ritual, well, I don't really feel like going home empty-handed. Which is why all of you need to die, sadly. Can't have mortals knowing a little old lady like me is running around. Tarek sheathed his blade and held up both hands. Miss Roxy, right? There's been enough death in this town of late. There need not be any more. Killing us would only raise further suspicion of your presence here, and I believe that's the last thing anyone needs. We can go somewhere small and quiet to speak in private, and we can take care of your friend. There need not be bloodshed nor any violent action. There's been too much already. And he looked towards Vastriel and Caius, giving them a slightly desperate expression for aid. Vastriel sees Tarek and looks back confused and worried. Roxy sighed. And what's so wrong with death? Mortals don't know what you're missing. The universe is a lot bigger than one dimension, you know. And so she raised an eyebrow at Tarek as he spoke and said, Oh, what for? Tarek, I have some understanding of what lies beyond the material plane, ma'am. But there are people who make their lives on this plane, and there are those who care for one another. This town has been through great hardship recently, and the people need one another. That doesn't mean they aren't willing to take up arms, though. If they find someone has struck down us, we have people who come to us looking for protection, and there is no mercy for you on this plane as long as you stay in this town. He moved his hand to his chest and he lightly clutched his holy symbol. And if you do not fear mortals, then you have a fear of greater powers. We all hold on to our beliefs, and I myself am blessed with the grace of Sarenrae. I know not what you may feel of the Dawnflower, but she has given me a guidance for a reason, and aids me in keeping the people here safe. Do you respect her domain enough to hold your blade and speak without the threat of violence? He let go of the symbol and raised his hand again, calming a bit after hearing it, but still a look of desperation or slight panic in his eyes. You're a powerful being. Surely you must be wise enough to make the correct decision. The woman rolled her eyes as she approached Tarek. Yes, yes, I know how mortals work, Paladine. You don't need to lecture me on doctrine. But know this, not everyone keeps themselves so wrapped up. For if you were to take a step outside your own church, you know there are many people out there who not so much astray, but become educated. And life is a very interesting way of opening mortals up for excitement. Church protects the heart, yes, but who protects the body, the flesh? She smiled, looked into Tarek's eyes, and cupped Tarek's hand between hers. I am not a violent person, Tarek. My environment is what made me who I am, and fighting just isn't in my nature. You got me. I'm all yours. Here are my hands ready to be bound and shackled. Tarek felt his arms, willingly and unwillingly, drift down Foxy's body, as he felt her breasts flatten and a noticeable bulge develop in her pants, as well as a bulge in his own pants. He rolled 2 saves. He made the save against Charm Person, but failed the save against getting an erection. Yes, that's a spell. Caius looked towards Tarek, then Roxy, then Vass, as he shook his head in exasperation. Vasriel looked around, trying to understand what a succubus was, and why she was so attached to Tarek. Tarek, EXE, has stopped working. Tarek froze up, looking as though he had mentally broken for a moment, before pulling away sharply and with a flustered look shook his head. Just to talk, please, ma'am. Or, sir, oh, sweet fucking Sarenrae. Roxy looked towards him, dejected, but kept her hand wrapped around yours. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I come on too strong? My bad. Let's go somewhere nicer. Where did you guys go to hang out anyway? Tarek still looks visibly flustered, his skin paling a bit. He looked toward Vass and Caius. Rusty Dragon, he mouthed. Help me. Not fear, but rather sheer embarrassment. Vasriel. Listen, Roxy, was it? He's had a long day and he needs sleep. Not what you're offering him. Please go back where you claim and let us get some much needed rest. Roxy looked at Vasriel. And so why don't the four of us head back to the Rusty Dragon together then? That sounds like fun. Vasriel, I can't stop you from going there, but stay out of our rooms at least. Eh, Uh, Roxy looked back at Vasriel and looked sad. Why? Vasriel, we've had a rough day and we need some rest. Tarek, long, very long day. Can have a room, but not tonight, at least. He had still looked incredibly flustered, and he tried to wiggle his hand free a bit. Roxy goes, Me too, and I think Tarek here needs more rest than anybody else. If you're sure. Vasriel says he needs sleep, not you. As a result, Foxy looked at Vasriel. He made a will save against Charm Person, and he failed. So Roxy went, Oh, so what you're saying is that you're the one with the larger bedroom to give Tarek some time on his own, do you? Vasriel says, Well, Tarek does need time to himself, for now at least. Roxy goes, Awesome! Let's head back to the Rusty Dragon then. The cleric mouthed a thank you to Vasriel. He made another attempt to wiggle his hand free from the journey there. Tarek sent a look towards Caius. Tarek shifted his head a bit towards the body as he led Roxy away. Roxy walked down towards the Rusty Dragon, with Tarek and Vasriel under her arms. And, well, we decided to call it there, with Balder and Ameko re-rolling next session, and Caius looting the body, which I will explain once we begin next session. Hope y'all had fun. See you tomorrow.